Hi, and welcome to the Holly C Podcast, a show about expressing your brilliance with ease and flow. I'll show you how to take the woo-woo out of the clouds and apply it to real life for effortless action. This show is for world changers and future world changers, so if you know there's more to life and you're wondering what's next, this is your show. Hi, I'm Holly, your host. I am a speaker, author, dragon spirit guide, teacher of health, wellness, vitality, and spirituality, and I'm also an entrepreneur. Now, I mentioned that today because this episode is going to be one of those shows within a show where I talk about entrepreneurship because it's one of the most amazing ways to express your brilliance. I mean, after all, if you're going to be working, why not do something that you're passionate about and that makes a difference in the world? So last week I was in Sedona, Arizona, and it is this special place on Earth that has all of these energy vortexes. Now, at first, when I heard that, I thought maybe energy vortex, that was like in the woo-woo way. So you go there, you feel the energy vortex, but it's an actual energy vortex, as in there's something going on with the earth, like physically, that you can see because it causes the juniper trees to grow in a way that their trunks become twisted. Probably something with the magnetic fields. I don't totally understand how it works, but it's pretty amazing. And you can definitely feel it. And the theory is that being in these energy vortexes is very healing and very opening for your own energy and helping you to manifest what you want. So I was there to go to a workshop and I attended it with a few friends. And it was also 11/11, November 11th. So I'm not a big numerology person. I pay attention when it suits me, kind of like horoscopes. If they're good, then I'll pay attention. Otherwise, I'm like, eh. But a lot of my friends are really into numerology and the significance of numbers. And 11/11 being master numbers are very powerful numbers. So that particular date in that particular location in Sedona, Arizona with these energy vortexes is a really, really powerful opportunity to manifest. So interestingly, on 11/11, I happened to wake up in the middle of the night and it was 1:11 when I checked my watch, when I checked the time. So again, there's that one number. And I had this sudden crystal clear insight about abundance and growing a business abundantly. So not just making enough to get by, but actually thriving, having a growing, thriving, profitable business. And I have seen this in the growth of my own online business with my blog, ChineseFootReflexology.com. It reaches hundreds of thousands of people around the world every year. And several years ago, I set an intention for how I wanted to grow my business, how I wanted to run my business, how many students I wanted to teach each year, and more importantly, what did I want to get out of it? So for me, the most important thing was to create a lifestyle business, one that was supportive for myself and my family, and also for my students and readers. One where I could be vulnerable and authentic, and also stay in integrity with myself, with the values that I hold. And I have pretty high standards. And the one thing that I knew I had to watch most was to not let my mind get carried away with it, because the mind can get caught up with numbers, wanting to grow bigger and bigger, more and more revenue, but that comes at a cost. And I've seen this with a lot of quote unquote online gurus where they compromise their own values and they're not actually making as big of an impact as they could in terms of making a difference in people's lives. They're making a big impact in terms of their own sales figures, but they're not actually helping as many people as they could if they, instead of focusing on playing the numbers game, they instead focused on what they really wanted. So this episode is for those of you who are growing a business and would like to reach that next level of income. There's a lot of gems in this particular podcast, and I never actually got to share the full extent of that download I received from the universe with my friends. So that's another reason why I'm recording this particular episode, is so that I can share that information with them and also with you. First, I thought I was going to share about the 3 components that I saw that people need to have a successful business. That was the insight I got at 111. And then I was going to share about the mindset of money and abundance. But I'm getting a nudge from the universe to start with that first, because that's like the foundation. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter what you do, because you're not in alignment within yourself. So the universe wants to send you all this abundance, but you first need to be in alignment with it. Let's talk about the idea of money first, because abundance is really about making money. There's a whole bunch of other abundance too. There's abundant health, there's abundant love, there's abundant joy and appreciation and abundant relationships. But when we talk about abundance, let's call it for what it is. It is about money. And I know that triggers a lot of people. So if you're feeling triggered, that's your first clue that there's something to address there. You can't have abundance, aka money, unless you feel good about having money. There's a lot of messages, mixed messages that we receive from society, from our family, even from our friends, even from ourselves about money. And you have to find those and purge them from your mindset if they are limiting your ability to welcome abundance into your life. So I'll give some examples of them. I'll think from my own life, things that I've had to get over in order to quote unquote receive abundance. Now I say that in quotes because you're not receiving abundance, you're creating abundance. And I'm going to share with you those 3 things that are essential in a business. And when you hear them, you're going to go, oh my gosh, that's so obvious. But until it's all put together for you, it might not be so obvious. I know that's how I felt, where a lot of the business coaches out there will take you into the weeds and talk about very specific tactics and techniques like, how to write copy or how to grow a mailing list, but they don't give you the big picture view. So this is what I want to give you, because when you see that, things become much more obvious and easier to do. But let's get back to this mindset about money. There was a JP Sears video where he was doing a tongue-in-cheek look at vision boards. So if you haven't heard of JP Sears, go look him up on YouTube. He does these really hilarious videos where he pokes fun at spiritual people. And it's not in a mean way, because just looking at him, you know that he's a spiritual person. He does yoga, he does vision boards, he meditates, but he is able to step outside of that and laugh at himself too. And so if you find things are getting a little heavy and serious for you, go look up some of his YouTube videos. They're really funny. Anyway, in the vision board one, where he's making fun of vision boards, he points out how spiritual people talk about wanting to manifest abundance, but really what they're saying is they want to make money. But it sounds better when you say manifest abundance. It only sounds better to you and to everybody else who's drinking that Kool-Aid. But really, what you want is you want money. Let that sit for a moment. And when you want to manifest abundance, like a lot of abundance, you want to manifest or make or attract or have lots of money. And you've got to be comfortable with that. So some of those limiting thought patterns are things like, I or you don't deserve to have that money, or that you have to work hard to have money. There's no way to make money unless you work really hard, especially if you've seen that with your parents or in a business or in jobs that you've had before. So if you have that belief, then you are going to fight against having a lot of money at a subconscious level, because it means you have to work hard. So if you have a lot of money, you're going to work hard. And if you want more money, you've got to work harder. Why would you want to do that, right? Not in alignment. The deserving thing, now that is a big one. That goes back to childhood. How many times were you denied something because of unknown reasons to you as a child, but your parents told you couldn't have it, and maybe you thought it was because you weren't worthy of it. You didn't know there was a whole bunch of financial strain going on. It was just your parents trying to shield you from that, but instead, what they did was they saddled you with this belief that you're not worthy of having whatever it is that you want. And speaking of parents saddling beliefs on you, the ones who did tell you about the financial situation, or perhaps they would say things like they didn't want to buy something for you, they just said, oh, we can't afford it. Then you started to have this mindset that you can't afford things. And that became part of your thought patterns. Or the idea that rich people are greedy or bad people. I know I had that belief when I was in my 20s that rich people were all greedy. And it took me seeing some rich people who were not all greedy to start to shift that belief. This is especially true if you grew up in a household that was poor, because being poor then is better than being all these greedy rich people, right? But having money does not make people greedy. Yes, there are greedy people who seek out money, but when you have a lot of money, and I've heard this said before and I totally agree with it, it simply magnifies who you already are. So somebody who is a greedy person may accumulate a lot of money and they will still be greedy and want more money. Somebody who is a very generous person who happens to attract a lot of abundance, they're going to be very generous with their money. If anything, they can give more of it. So I can think of one example. There's this guy who writes this blog. His name is Pete something, but he goes by the moniker of Mr. Money Mustache. So that's his blog title too, if you go to mrmoneymustache.com. And he lives a fairly minimalist life, but he feels very abundant. He doesn't spend a lot of money, but he's very successful with his blog, writing about financial independence. And he wrote last year, I believe it was last year, how he gave away $100,000 to charity. So money just magnifies who you already are. If somebody's an asshole, more money means they can be an asshole at a more mega level. If somebody is kind and generous and thoughtful, and money simply magnifies that, whether they have the time to devote to causes that they're passionate about, or that they give a lot of money to charity, it's simply just a magnification of that. Okay, now I'm getting the message from the universe to move along, and that I could probably do 6 podcast episodes on the mindset of money. So we'll probably tackle those in future episodes. But I want to share with you now those 3 components that are necessary to have a successful business. Every successful business has these 3 things going on, and this is especially applicable if you are a solo entrepreneur or if you're growing an online business. But it also applies if you have a brick and mortar business too. So here are the 3 things that are essential. Number 1, you have to make something that people want. I know it's so obvious, but I'm going to explain about that more, especially in the context of a solo entrepreneur or small business. Number 2, you have to tell people about it. So you have to tell people about what you're making and why they would want it. And then finally, number 3, you have to ask them to pay you money for it. So let's look at all 3 of these in the context of being an entrepreneur and growing your business. So first, you have to make something that people want. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs spend a lot of time on this. So if you're one of those, you might even be angry at me for saying this, saying, oh my gosh, that's so obvious. But It's how you go about finding out that whether or not people want the thing that you're offering. That's the key to the success. So a lot of people, they draw from their own experiences, they come up with something. So let's just use online business or coaching service type business, because these are very common paths for woo-woo heart-centered people to want to pursue. So we'll start first with the wanting, what people want. So you can't know what people want if you're figuring it out in advance, or you're figuring it out by yourself, or you're just asking your friends and family. That is not an accurate representation of the marketplace. So I'm not going to tell you to go out and research your competition either. You probably already have an idea of who those people are and what they're offering. That's what gave you the idea to do what you're doing, which is, say, offering a service or offering some sort of ebook or online course. But the best way for you to know what people want is to have an audience. So a lot of people start backwards. They start by creating the product, and then they look for the audience. You've got to create an audience first and find out what the audience wants. So with me, I started my blog, ChineseFootReflexology.com, and that was my way of putting out there what I thought people wanted, or, getting that feedback from friends and family and answering those questions or addressing that feedback. So it was a very low cost, low time and effort, relative to creating a whole product and service and going out and trying to find an audience for it. So when you compare putting out the information on a blog versus spending weeks or months creating a product or a book or trying to network and sell your services, it's pretty easy to write a blog article, relatively speaking. And that is a surefire way to know what people want, because if people are responding to your articles in terms of getting traffic, then they're interested in it. And if you set up a mailing list, then you can continue growing your audience that way, and you get feedback from people. They'll email you, and then you'll get more idea of what people want. And if you have like a Facebook page and you post your articles, then you're helping to grow your audience, but you're also finding out what people are really interested in. You pay attention to the metrics. What are they liking? What are they sharing? So if you are wanting to have a successful business in the easiest way possible, you actually have to pay attention to your statistics. I don't know how many entrepreneurs, they're not actually tracking their stats. So you got to find a way to measure the feedback. That's the easiest way. Otherwise, you got to set up a survey, send that out, and get the feedback, read it all, which is also a very valuable way. And talking to people is also a very valuable way. But it's when you remove yourself from the equation, because when you're talking with someone or you're writing up a survey, you're kind of influencing the direction of the feedback. But when you put something out there online, you can see in the numbers what people are responding to. And that brings me to the other really powerful way to know what people want. It's what I call launch and fail. Pretty obvious. So instead of spending all that time trying to make this perfect course or book in your head, you make some not so perfect ones and you toss them out into the marketplace. So you've already started growing your audience, and you can't skip that step. You really need to grow the audience if you want to grow your business. So make that as important as making your product, and I would say even more important. And it's going to take a little bit longer at the beginning to start growing this audience. Give yourself and you probably don't want to hear this, but at least a year where you're totally focused. Say at least 60% of your effort is focused on growing an audience. And you'll find it's one of the most rewarding ways to grow business. It's rewarding because when you're focused on creating your audience, what you're doing is you're giving your audience some of the best stuff that you have to offer. You're sharing it freely. And then when you have this audience, then you can do the launch and fail. So again, launch and fail is about putting out whatever service or product or book or class or workshop that you want to do, offering it for sale, and you're not going to hit 6 figures with that first one. It'll be great if you just have a handful of people and make like $100. I think that was actually what happened on the very first workshop I taught online. I think I had 5 or 6 participants sign up and I made $120. And it took me a whole freaking month to make that class. But I learned from that and I started to refine and grow. Like from that first one, I learned that I could have a topic for a second one and people would sign up in the first one. So I'd already have an audience ready for the second one, even though if it was only one person. But just knowing that somebody had already bought it was really empowering rather than making something and having no clue whether anyone would sign up for it. So launch and fail is the best, most effective way for you to learn your craft, get better and better at it, and to get feedback from your audience to know what it is that they want. So you might be wondering, well, yeah, it's a lot of work. How do I do that? Very simple. You just don't be perfect about it. And this gets into the second part of this element, which is you make things that people want. So we talked about the want, and let's talk about you make. So you have to actually make it. And the way to do this and save time and not stress over it is you make it. So what do I mean? Let me explain. You do not spend time thinking about making it, just a little bit of time doing that. You don't spend all your time thinking about making it or planning about how you're going to make it or scheduling when you're going to have the time to make it. Whenever those thoughts cross your mind, you actually get down and dirty and start making it. So I'm not saying you don't do any planning. Pre-planning is good. Having a great big overview of what you're going to do is good. But you shouldn't spend more than an hour on that. Then everything else should be focused on actually making it happen. You make yourself do something to move forward every single day. So if you wanted to write a book, then even if you don't feel like writing that day, you write something. You say, I'm going to write for 5 minutes. You want to grow your business and you're having a super busy day, the very, very least then you can come up with a topic for the next blog article you're going to write about. There's always something that you can do. And I don't mean you're busy, busy, busy all the time, but when the thought crosses your mind, when you have that moment and you can do something, rather than come up with reasons why not to do it, you should actually just do it. Sometimes I've seen it takes more time to write down on your to-do list that you're going to do something than it does to actually do it. So that's what I mean about you make something that people want. You have to always be moving forward with that making. And when you look at your time and how to allocate your time, you could spend time learning about something, or you could actually spend the time doing it. And it's those small choices, those micro choices that you make every day that are either going to move you forward on making something that people want or doing something that does not contribute to the making of something that people want. So if you take a look at all the ways you spend your time, there's probably a bunch of things that don't actually fall into this path of making something that people want. And you have to assess those things that you do and determine what to cut loose, what to stop doing or do less of. Yeah, you might need to do a little bit of research to learn how to do something, but chances are you could probably cut that in half easily, or cut it down by 75%. And then take that time instead to make things that people want, to launch and fail, what you're learning every time you launch and fail. And you're getting better at honing in on what people want. So the final thing I want to talk about making things that people want is to make sure that you make it in the format that people want. So here's an example of perfect alignment. You write articles for your blog, and then you write an ebook. People who consume your articles like reading. So if you put out a book, guess what? They're going to like reading. Now, on the other hand, if you go and do a lot of live speaking, you talk to groups, and then you put out an ebook, it's not necessarily what they want because you've been growing your audience by speaking. So they want to see you speak. So doing video would probably be better if you wanted to do something where you didn't have to be live. At least they can still see you. So it doesn't have to be like exactly matchy-matchy. The idea is just to make sure there's a consistency in how you deliver what it is that you want to sell, your product or service, and how you're growing your audience. But the thing is that you won't know until you launch and fail. And that's why it's so important to be creating, than just thinking about creating and planning about creating and making things in a vacuum. So make things that people want in the way that they want it. Make things that people want in the way that they want it. And that's a perfect segue to the second component that's essential for having a successful business. You have to tell people about this thing that you're selling, and you've got to tell it to them in a way that they want to hear about it. So there's two components to this too. The first is telling people about it. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, who feel very, very awkward about telling people about something they have for sale. So you got to get over that. And how do you get over that? Yeah, you can do a lot of inner work, blah, blah, woo, stuff like that. But you can actually do launch and fail. That gets you over it, because each time you do that, you get more comfortable with telling people what it is that you're offering them for sale. It just takes practice. You would tell any kid to practice at something that they're not good at. You want to learn how to play violin? Practice. Want to learn piano? Practice. Want to get better at kicking a soccer ball? Practice. Want to learn how to spell words? Practice. Want to be a better writer? Write. Same thing. Want to get better at telling people that you have something to offer? Practice telling people that you have something to offer. Launch and fail. And you know what? I want to mention too, it could be launch and succeed too. Failure is just your own perception. I say launch and fail because I want to set the stage so that you know you're not going to launch and have a 6-figure launch right away. People who tell you that, who promise that or imply that, they're kind of lying to you. When they have those testimonials on their websites of people with their, $40,000 launch and stuff like that, there's a lot of information that they're not telling you. One, it may be that person who had the $40,000 launch has already grown an audience. They're not starting from scratch. Or they have a whole bunch of friends who can help promote what it is that they're selling. So they leave that out. They leave out the things that you may not have, which is why you can't do that, because you haven't built those things yet, but they don't tell you that. Or it may be a friend of theirs who's giving that testimonial. Notice a lot of these testimonials show people looking their best. Who gives testimonials like that where they actually include their picture? I know when I write real reviews, like on Amazon or Yelp, I hide my identity. And the other thing about those testimonials is they'll take testimonials for one thing and then put it on a web page selling something else. I know with a lot of this internet marketing, they have these different tiers. There's start at this, general tier, which is probably like, say, $500 versus the, diamond, platinum, rare gem, ruby level, which is, say, $20,000. Well, they take the testimonials for the $20,000 service that they offer and put it on the page for the $500 thing they offer. That's like apples and oranges. That's like somebody trying to sell electric vehicles, and then they take the testimonial about how great the Tesla drives and they slap that down on the page for the Nissan Leaf. So it's like using the testimonial for a luxury vehicle and then putting it for a car that costs 1/4 of the price of the luxury vehicle. It's not the same thing. it's important to know this because then you won't see your own quote unquote failure as a failure, because these people have left out all the times that they have launched and failed. They're just telling you the success. One day, if you choose, you can have that 6-figure success too. Attracting abundance, making money. But you can't skip the steps necessary to get there. But they won't take as long as you think they will. But you still need to keep taking those steps, because there's no such thing as an overnight success. And once you realize this, then you will not compare yourself to these other people, to these shiny, happy faces that you see giving these glowing testimonials and go, well, she did it in like 3 months. How come I can't? It's because she didn't do it in 3 months, or she had a whole bunch of support systems that you're not aware of. So let's get back to the topic of telling people about what it is that you have to offer. Even if it's the most uncomfortable thing in the world, make yourself do that. I know for me, there was a time where I was so mindful of not wanting to impose on people through their inbox, because I am somebody who doesn't like to get a lot of spam. And I hate it when you sign up for somebody's mailing list and then you get all this email and they're always trying to sell you something. You do not have to be that person, but you do have to be the person who sometimes tells people that you have something for sale. So I had to get over myself with that. And how did I get over it? I actually started sending emails where I was offering something for sale. And even now I'm mindful about that. I think in my mailing list of all the newsletters I send, maybe once a year I send something that the email is just something for sale, nothing else in it. But the rest of the time, there's tons and tons of information, and sometimes I might mention there's something for sale. So you find a way that you get comfortable with it for yourself, but you still have to tell people you've got something for sale. Oh, second part is about telling them why they want what it is that you have for sale. And this is where people kind of veer off a bit. They try their hand at it and it doesn't quite work because they're telling people about things like, you can get this on CD and there are 20 hours of CD lessons. And that's the first thing they tell people. Who the heck wants that? I don't want to listen to CDs for 20 hours to learn whatever it is that I'm going to learn from you. The emphasis should be on what it is that a person is going to get from investing that time or money with you. And it may not necessarily be the actual physical thing. Let's go back to cars. That's easy to explain. Now, why do people want cars? So you could tell people, and some people are interested in things like, it's got this type of engine or power or range. Now, the power and like how fast the car accelerates and how much horsepower it has, people want that not because they want horsepower. There's something else that they want. They want prestige or status. That's why they're buying that car and paying so much money for it. They want this fast car. They want the fastest car. It makes them feel powerful. Or me, I like a car that accelerates quickly. Is it because I want a car that accelerates quickly? Is that the real reason? No, the reason is because I feel safer with a car that accelerates quickly. It lets me maneuver in heavy traffic much more easily. That's what I want. Or when people don't really care what car they have, but they want to get a car, it isn't that they want a car per se. They just want a way that they can conveniently get from point A to point B. So you have to look at what it is that you're offering and identify those key elements. What is it that people really want? And then you tell them about how what it is you have to offer actually addresses what they really want. That's way more powerful than just saying the features of what it is that you're offering for sale. So if somebody were to say this car can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, that says to me, yeah, the car can accelerate quickly. But if somebody were to say to me, this car can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, But where you'll really notice it is when you initially step on the gas or on the electric vehicle. I don't even know what you call them. You call them gas pedals? The go pedal. When you step on that, the torque is going to really cause, I know nothing about engines here. All right. It's going to make the car go fast, really fast. So this car can accelerate quite quickly with a very light touch. So when you're on the highway and you're caught in a jam, say you're trying to get past a large truck and you're kind of pinned in between the truck and another vehicle, you can step on the gas and know that your car can go faster than both the truck very easily and the car beside you and accelerate yourself out of that spot so that you have clear road ahead of you. That speaks to me a lot more than the car can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. So you need to find that way to speak to your audience. And this is going to segue into the third component of what you need to have a successful business. Number 3 is you have to ask people to pay you money for it. So why I say it segues is because we're kind of entering the realm of sales and marketing. Actually, we're not kind of. We actually are entering the realm of sales and marketing. And if you are uncomfortable with entering this realm, your business isn't going to be as successful as you want it to. Because you have to tell people why they might want something and then ask them for money to pay you for it. And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And rightly so, because all of us have experienced the super pushy salesperson. You know, that guy who lied to you, who used all sorts of manipulative techniques to push you into buying something and made you feel bad if you didn't buy it, or you kind of got bullied into buying it and then you felt bad afterwards. I'm not telling you to be that person. Absolutely not. Like the exact opposite of that. See, that goes back to the importance of building an audience, of growing an audience. If you have an audience that's telling you what they want through launch and fail, let's just call it launch and succeed now, launch and succeed, launch and succeed, then you don't have to force things on people. They actually want it. They're telling you that they want it. Right now, there are probably a whole bunch of people who you don't even realize are there that would line up to give you money for what it is that you have to sell them. Only perhaps you've never actually asked them for money. So when it comes to asking people to pay you, you need to have a way to receive the money. You need to be receptive to receiving the money. I've seen people launch businesses and people have to call them to set up an appointment and they don't answer their phone. I've seen that in myself many, many years ago when I was trying to be an entrepreneur. It scared me when the phone rang. What if they don't want what I have? And I answer the phone and then I just kind of let it go to voicemail and I don't get back to them right away. People do that with emails. When you email somebody and say, hey, I'm interested in this thing you have for sale, and then you don't hear back from them. Not right away. It takes them a few days. Guess what? That's not being open for business. That's not actually allowing people to pay you for what it is that you're offering. So maybe I should extend that. It's not just you have to ask people to pay you for it. You have to ask people to pay you for it and be open and willing and ready to receive that money. Because I've seen too people who have offered to pay people for things and then the people say, no, I can't accept it. And guess what? You're turning away revenue. There's something in you that is not allowing yourself to receive the abundance. So you're not in alignment. So you're not going to have an easy time growing your business because there's going to be that resistance every time somebody tries to pay you. There's a phrase that's pretty good. It's telling, not selling. When you have your audience, when you're making something that they want and you're making it in the format that they want and you're telling them about why they would want it, so not just listing off the features, but actually explaining to them so you know them, you understand them, you know, you listened to me. So here's an example. If a car salesperson actually asked me why I was interested in the car accelerating quickly, and then I could explain to them, then they know. Then they can take a look and say, it's not about saying, hey, this car that doesn't accelerate quickly. I'm going to lie and tell you it accelerates quickly, or I'm going to try and tell you why it's not important that it accelerates quickly. No, the good salesperson is going to look at their inventory and say, here's the car for you. This car accelerates quickly in the scenario that you just described. So when you know your audience and you know what they want through this launch and succeed, then you can then tell them, hey, you know what? This particular thing that I'm offering is actually answering your question or addressing your concern, or will help you with your concern and your questions and help you get what it is that you want. So I'll give an example from my business. My first 6-week program, I didn't make that up myself. It was from listening to what people wanted, from reading and answering thousands of emails, literally, over the course of the years that I was growing my audience. And people would always ask about a particular health condition, whatever it is that they had, and want to know what Chinese reflexology points they could massage to help them with that. So it didn't matter what the condition was, because the answer I had, writing it over and over again in those emails, it was always the same answer. You have to start with these basic fundamental points. And then suddenly the light bulb went off. It was like, ding, make a course that teaches the basic fundamental points, because everybody needs to get that in order to start improving their health and vitality. And that was the launch of my 6-week Soul Fundamentals program. But there were many mini courses and ideas that I did the launch and fail, or launch and succeed with, that led me to that point. And then when I told people about it, so I had to get over my discomfort at emailing people about it. I actually let them know about this program. And when I told them about it, it wasn't like saying, hey, you're going to learn 20 reflexology points. Yeah, I would mention that. But these are the 20 points that actually address the question that people want to know, is which points are going to help you with your health and vitality. These are the points. Notice how that's different than just saying, there are 20 points that you're going to learn in this course. So whatever it is that you're offering, look for that next level of what it is that people want and what it is that they really want behind that. So people want health and vitality, but they want health and vitality. Why? They want health and vitality to spend time with their friends and family. They want quality of life. They want to do the things that they're passionate about. They want to feel good in their body. So you explain that to people when you're telling people about what it is that you have to offer and why they might want it. So you do not lie about these things. You don't promise that this will do X, Y, Z if it only does X and Y. But if it does do X, Y, and Z, then you let people know about it. And if somebody doesn't want X, Y, and Z, then you don't keep telling them about it. And it's as simple as that. So not every single person is a potential sale, and that's okay. That's the other problem that we have with salespeople that comes to mind, is that somebody will push something on you when you don't want it. You don't have to be that, because you've already figured out what people want, and you have this audience, and you market to those people, and you get over your queasiness about sales and marketing. I've actually read a lot of books on sales and marketing, and I would have to say that the biggest benefit from that was to get over my discomfort about sales and marketing. So there are a whole bunch of techniques and tactics to use in a lot of these books, but I found that I would learn a lot of this and then it wasn't in alignment with me, so I did not use them. But there is enough in helping you to explain to people why they would want something that I feel it's beneficial. And I think the biggest benefit for me, though, was to just help me get over my queasiness of sales and marketing. If you pull back the curtain on it and you see what it is that people do that, let's just say, are a little bit crossing the line in terms of ethics, then you can know what it is that you don't want to do and not do those things. So it's like you're empowering yourself to see what sales and marketing is and then go, okay, I am going to not do this stuff, because you don't want to be that schwarmy salesperson. So if you know what the schwarmy salesperson does, then you don't have to do those things. It's very clear. You go, oh, this is what they do. I'm not going to do those things. And then you'll feel more comfortable about sales and marketing and telling people about what it is you have to offer, because you're making something that they want in the way that they want it, and you're telling them about it in the way that they're open to hearing about it, and then you're asking for money for it, and you're open and receptive to receiving that abundance. So see how if you have these three components in place, you're not just passively receiving abundance. You're active. You're creating this. You're creating your abundance and your existence, and there is your power. So if you look at how you spend your time and you shuffle your priorities to focus on these three components, making, not thinking about making, but making, actually doing, making something that people want. So you know they want it. They want it because they're telling you through metrics and they're telling you through sales. And the only way you can get this real, true data is by launching and failing, launching and succeeding. And then you let people know about it. So whether you tell all your friends and family, you put it on a Facebook, you send out an email newsletter, or you do it all, you don't hesitate to let people know. And because you're saving so much time by doing versus thinking, you've got the time to do this. The time it takes to post something on Facebook, even if it's not perfect, is less time than it would for you to write down that you need to plan out something to post on Facebook. You learn by the doing. And that also helps you learn how to better tell people what it is that you have to offer and why they might be interested in it. Launch and succeed, launch and succeed. And then you have to ask for money for it. And just be aware of how comfortable you are with receiving money and asking for money. And know that practice is what will help you overcome any blocks and help you feel much more comfortable and at ease with it. All right, that was pretty much it. So this is my show within a show where I talk about entrepreneurship and how to be a successful entrepreneur. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I hope what I've shared with you will help you grow your business, because I know that your business is going to have an impact on the world and make the world a better place. And when you're in alignment and you're following your passion, you're like a beacon for other people to do the same. If you enjoyed this episode and you found it helpful and valuable, please share it with your friends and family, with your fellow entrepreneurs that you know. That helps me help more people express their brilliance with ease and flow. I'm Holly, and I'm signing off for now until we connect again. Bye.